You know when you see a company just implode in public? It's like watching a slow motion car crash. But what's really happening behind the curtain? Well, there's a whole playbook for that. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at how organizations manage those absolutely make or break moments. This is the inside scoop on crisis management. So, where do we even start with managing total chaos? Here's our game plan. First up, we'll get on the same page about what a crisis actually is. Then, we'll walk through its entire life cycle, from that first hint of trouble to the final cleanup. After that, we'll get to the absolute core of it all, communication, and we'll look at the four main strategies companies pull from their toolbox. And finally, we'll talk about maybe the most important part, what you're supposed to learn after the dust settles. Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, what even is a crisis? Because before you can tackle one, you've got to know what you're looking at. We need to draw a really clear line between just a bad day at the office and a full-on, reputation-shattering catastrophe. Seriously, think about it. What separates a simple problem from a true capital C crisis? It's a super important distinction, right? But the answer isn't always as black and white as you'd think. So where is that line? Well, the experts have a pretty solid answer. A crisis isn't just another headache. It's an unexpected event that threatens the very core of an organization, its reputation, its bottom line, everything. And it demands big decisions, fast, to try and stop the bleeding. And what's really fascinating is that pretty much every crisis, whether it's a natural disaster or a PR nightmare, has the same three ingredients. First, a major threat. Second, the element of total surprise. You never see it coming. And third, a ticking clock that forces you to make huge calls with, let's be honest, not enough information. It's a pressure cooker. And we can't forget about the human cost here. This isn't just about stock prices or press releases. For the actual people caught in the middle of it all, we're talking employees, customers, the whole community. That psychological fallout can stick around for 3 to 6 months. That's long after the cameras have packed up and gone home. Okay, so now that we've defined what we're dealing with, let's look at how these things actually play out. That brings us to the crisis life cycle, a surprisingly predictable path that almost every crisis follows from beginning to end. You can pretty much map out this whole journey in 3 clear stages. You've got the time before the crisis event itself, and then everything that comes after. And trust me, knowing which stage you're in is absolutely critical to making the right call. The first phase, pre-crisis, is all about playing defense. It's about being prepared before the storm hits. This means you're actively looking for warning signs, you're trying to prevent risks you already know about, and most importantly, you have a solid crisis plan ready to go at a moment's notice. And then, boom, the crisis hits. This is go time. The plan kicks into action. The very first step is just admitting, okay, we're in a crisis. From that point on, it's all about 2 things. Containment, stopping the bleeding, and communication, getting clear information out to everyone who needs it ASAP. But once the immediate fire is out, the job is nowhere near finished. In fact, this post-crisis phase is probably the most important of all. This is when you step back, figure out what the heck went wrong, learn from it, and start that long, hard road to rebuilding trust. Now, you might have noticed a common thread through all those stages, right? Communication. It's everything. And that brings us to our third section, because when the stakes are this high, what you say and how you say it can either calm the waters or just add fuel to the fire. On paper, communication looks so simple, doesn't it? You have a sender, a message, a channel, and a receiver. Easy. But now throw a massive crisis into that equation, and suddenly every single one of those steps is a potential landmine. The pressure is insane, and believe me, every single word is being put under a microscope. So how do you even begin to handle that kind of pressure? Well, the playbook is pretty clear. First, you have to control the story. That means getting your facts straight, creating a single, reliable hub for information, a single source of truth, and then communicating fast and often. You have to get out ahead of the media and, above all else, talk directly and honestly to the people who've been hit the hardest. And this quote just nails it perfectly. In a crisis, saying nothing is the absolute worst thing you can do. Silence just creates this vacuum, right? And that space gets filled, but not with the truth. It gets filled with rumors, with speculation, with fear. It can turn a problem you could have managed into a complete and utter disaster.
All right, so we've got the principles down. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual tools in the toolbox. That's section 4, the specific response strategies that an organization can actually deploy when things go sideways.
Basically, these strategies fall into 4 main categories, or playbooks, if you will. And the one they choose really depends on how much at fault the organization is. You can try to deny it, you can try to diminish your role, you can go all in on rebuilding, or you can just try to bolster the good reputation you already have.
So let's look at the two polar opposites here. On one side, you've got the deny strategy. This is where you refuse to take any blame. Maybe you attack the person accusing you, or you find someone else to point the finger at. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the rebuild strategy. This is full ownership, you compensate people, and you issue a real, sincere apology.
Then there's that gray area in the middle, the diminish strategy. This isn't an outright denial. Instead, an organization might offer an excuse. Claim it was an accident or something out of their hands. Or they might try to justify it, saying the damage wasn't really that bad. It's all about trying to shrink their perceived responsibility for what happened. And that brings us to our final, and honestly most crucial part of this whole thing, learning the lesson. Because a crisis, as awful as it is a terrible thing to waste. This is the moment where you can turn a massive failure into a genuine opportunity for change. Because look, the goal isn't just to get back to normal. That's not a win. The real victory is learning from what went wrong so you can make damn sure that this specific disaster never ever happens again. And that means taking a hard, honest look at how everything was handled. It means updating that crisis playbook with everything you've just learned. And it means putting in the work to mend those broken relationships. It's a cycle of getting better that's literally forged in fire. So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you see a company or a public figure in the middle of a media firestorm, you'll be able to see the playbook in action. You can ask yourself, what strategy are they running? Are they denying, diminishing, rebuilding? Now that you know the moves, you can start to read the game.